What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today we're going to be looking at the 2021 North Division in the NHL. Now, the North Division could also be called the Canadian Division or the Great White North or whatever you want to call a division full of all Canadian teams. As we know, the 2021 NHL season is not going to be like a regular season that we've seen in the past. If you're interested what the divisions look like and a few other things, breakdowns, check out the first video in this 2021 NHL season playlist. It's going to be linked in the description below, so it just describes a few things, but all the teams in this playlist are based in Canada, and they are, of course, the Calgary Flames, Edmonton Oilers, Montreal Canadiens, Ottawa Senators, Toronto Maple Leafs, Vancouver Canucks, and Winnipeg Jets. So without further ado, we'll jump right in and we'll start discussing the offseason of the Calgary Flames. So the Flames had a relatively quiet offseason, so they ended up adding a pair of goaltenders in Jacob Markstrom and Louis Domingue, and then they also added left wing Joakim Nordstrom. So solid players added, and then they did lose defensemen Travis Hamonic and Eric Gustafsson. Now, Gustafsson they acquired at the trade deadline, so they didn't get too much out of him. Hamonic actually recently signed a player tryout, so we'll see what happens with that. He very well might not make the team that he signed with. And of course, getting Markstrom actually does help their goaltending situation. So Calgary definitely trending up this offseason. Good acquisitions for them. Still has a very strong offense as well. Now, Edmonton, of course, has McDavid. You could call them the McDavids at this point. Nobody would really disagree with you, except for probably the Germans. But they made some key moves. So, of course, the big one they did is they finally were able to get right wing Jesse Puljujarvi to sign. Now, of course, he was playing overseas in Finland, I believe, for the past couple of years after being pissed off with Edmonton not, giving him the money or whatever. Now, Puljujarvi has a heck of a lot of potential. If you play NHL, like the NHL franchises, you know this. Puljujarvi was a high draft pick. If he pans out, Edmonton's going to be solid this year. He looks like he might be on the top line, so watch Puljujarvi. He's a guy I'm a big fan of. Now, they also signed a few depth pieces in center Kyle Turris, left wing Tyler Ennis, defenseman Tyson Barrie, and goaltender Mike Smith. And they only really lost left wing Andreas Athanasiou, so again, I believe he was a trade deadline acquisition this offseason, or the last trade deadline. So Edmonton really improving. Didn't really lose all that much. Definitely a lethal team this year. Now, Montreal, they were busy this offseason. So they re-signed at least defenseman Jeff Petrie. And then they did add a few players, including right wing Tyler Toffoli, right wing Brendan Gallagher, right wing Corey Perry. And then they made a few trades that netted them defenseman Joel Edmondson, goaltender Jake Allen, and right wing Josh Anderson. Now, in exchange, what did they give up? What did they lose? They did lose center Max Domi in a trade. They traded him heads up for Josh Anderson. And then they did lose defenseman Carl Asner, who they cut, and right wing Dale Weiss. And then they also traded away a good amount of draft capital to get those players, the three players. So I did want to mention it there. Montreal is definitely a team that looks like it might improve this year. They should be able to make a run, especially in this division, so watch out for Montreal. Next, we have the Senators, and they by far had the busiest offseason. They definitely had the most trades. So they added a right wing Evgeny Dadonov and right wing Connor Brown, and then they made a few trades that netted them starting goaltender Matt Murray, defenseman Eric Goodbranson, defenseman Braden Coburn, and center Derek Stefan. All for acquired via trade. Now, they did lose a very underrated player in left wing Anthony Duclair, defenseman Mark Borowicki, defenseman Ron Hainsey, right wing Ryan Callahan, who technically was on the team. He did announce his retirement recently. And then they give up a lot of draft picks to get those four players. So I definitely wanted to mention that. Ottawa is a team on the rise. So we'll see how they can do in this all-Canadian team division. It's definitely going to be easier for them than the Atlantic is. So Ottawa has a chance to make a little bit of a run this year. Then we have the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Toronto obviously doesn't have a lot of cap space with their big names in the front. So they were able to add right wing Jason Spezza, right wing Wayne Simmons, defenseman TJ Brody, defenseman Zach Bogosian, and of course Jumbo Joe, center Joe Thornton. Now they did lose defenseman Tyson Barrie, who's been one of, if not their most consistent player on the defense. They also lost defenseman Cody Ceci and left wing Kyle Clifford. Really, not too many losses, but the games aren't exactly amazing. I do prefer Barrie over Brody and Bogosian, but adding Joe Thornton definitely helps this team. So Toronto has a chance, again, especially in this division. Then we have the Vancouver Canucks, who had a very quiet offseason. They added goaltender Braden Holtby and defenseman Nate Schmidt via trade. Now, in exchange, they did lose right wing Tyler Toffoli to their technical rivals this offseason, Montreal. They did lose goaltender Jacob Markstrom and goaltender Luis Domingue, both of which were lost to their rival Calgary Flames. Now, it's something to see your three key players that left your team all go to rivals. So we'll see what Vancouver can do. Vancouver probably not going to have a great year this year. Time will tell. Holtby isn't exactly the player he was a few years back. Lastly, we have the Winnipeg Jets, who had the quietest offseason. So they added defenseman Dylan DeMello and center Paul Stastny via trade, and they did lose center Cody Eakin. So really, not a lot of movement. They still need a lot of help before they're ready to compete. But yeah, so pretty much that is the North Division of the NHL in the 2021 season. If you're wondering who I have as my playoff teams, Toronto, easy. Edmonton, easy. I would say Montreal will be my 3, and it's going to be a fight for that 4th between Calgary and Ottawa. I think Calgary has an advantage, seeing as most of their players are coming back, and they actually added goaltending help. But it wouldn't shock me to see Ottawa, a young, talented team, come back into it. So, yeah, that's my North Division video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a great rest of your day.